The Central Bank of Nigeria says that its policies to reduce inflation is working, citing the decrease in inflation rate in 13 states. Nigeria's monthly inflation rate for the third consecutive month continues to slow down, indicating the effectiveness of CBN's monetary policy tightening measures. In a statement, CBN Deputy Governor, Economic Policy Directorate, Muhammad Abdullahi, says that the inflation tide is turning, albeit slowly. He says CBN will continue to work diligently with coordinated policy measures to ensure that the worst of the inflationary cycle is behind us in the nearest future. While year-on-year inflation continues to rise, the monthly rates show a slowdown. The decline in inflation rate is a nationwide trend with 13 states, including in Abuja, Akwa Ibom, and Rivers, experiencing a slowdown in year-on-year inflation in May. And Nigeria's foreign exchange reserve has surged to its highest levels since March 28, 2024, marking a significant financial milestone that coincides with the longest period of stable exchange rates seen in over a year. This is on the heels of a string of financial commitments from the World Bank through new multilateral loans. According to the latest data published by the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, the reserves now stand at $33.58 billion as of June 19, 2024. This achievement represents a notable recovery since the end of March 2024, when it was as high as $33.83 billion before a period of decline set in. The rise in foreign exchange reserves comes after 3 months of noticeable fluctuations when it plunged to a low of $32.11 billion on April 19, 2024, sparking concerns about the nation's financial stability. And the Nigerian Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, has launched a new program aimed at speeding up the registration process of virtual asset service providers, otherwise known as VASP. According to the regulatory body, the new program will serve as an amendment to existing rules and is targeted at improving the current regulatory framework to fit the existing complexities of the crypto industry in the country. The latest adjustment was announced on June 21, unveiling a specific amendment to the VASP registration rules, which introduces the Accelerated Regulatory Incubation Program. The new program, which is expected to last for 30 days, creates a window of opportunity for all operating and prospective VASPs in Nigeria to speedily complete all requirements, so ensuring full compliance across board. Well, Dr. Sam Amadi, Director, Abuja School of Social and Political Thought and a RISE analyst, is here to look at this development from the Central Bank of Nigeria. Very warm welcome to Arise News. At least we're starting with something cheery. You know, it's always bleak news, that Nigerians always wake up to, and so they will be going to bed with such, happy news from Central Bank of Nigeria. If month-on-month inflation, is dropping, 13 states, have shown indication.
Well, I think yes. If you are like Nigerians, trapped in everywhere, oppressed, depressed, so any good news is good news. But again, this tells a story of rate of increase. So we've seen month by month now. We are seeing that the rate of increase is slowing down. It doesn't mean that inflation necessarily is down significantly. It means that the increase we saw previously is slowing down in the rate of increase. So hopefully, if the initiatives are working, as the Central Bank is saying, then we hope that as we go towards the next quarter, we'll see significant drop. And I will not see decrease in the inflation rate itself, not the rate of increase declining. Again, but many analysts are reviewed that maybe towards July, August, we might see some dip in inflation. And
Which would be signs of stability in the economy.
In two ways. Well, maybe the food inflation is driving most of this. Maybe it has much less bottleneck in the logistics of food. We hope that we've got some respite, maybe respite in the attack against farmers, and then more food, then more logistics. And then again, the CBN's monetary policy, we've seen money coming from the World Bank now to help with macroeconomic stabilization. So those could work. But again, the real thing is that it might not be sustainable if we don't deal with the underlying causes.
Such monies, are they, pinned to certain projects and the rest, or economic indices, that will show results in, quarterly, for example?
For example, a backlog of maybe dollar payments for the central bank, open market operations, several things they can
How
do.
sustainable is this?
That's
How long will this
That's
last?
a point. If you are solving a structural economic crisis of low productivity, of constraint in agro value chain, that foods are not, you're not producing as much as you need, and not able to take them around, and of course the hikes in prices of food because of logistics, infrastructure decay, banditry, kidnapping, and all that. You can't solve it sustainably with a monetary policy intervention. $2.2 billion.
So
what you are doing basically is to buy time, and that's what we're seeing now, that things will not move as they are. I mean, it's like when the dollar is, you have dollar 800 naira to $1, and then you could bring it down to 6, you could bring it down to 7, but it could be momentary. The demand supply imbalance, that the disequilibrium, need to be dealt to it, in a more structural, comprehensive way. So I think the good thing is that these are also optics, and so if the inflation rate of increase is dropping as it's going and is sustained for some time, it changes. It's like self-fulfilling prophecy. The outlook gets better. Then investment, people, economic behavior will be triggered by this small improvement in the macroeconomic outlook. So if the central bank is and the central bank is right to say, look, this is working, it sustains faith. If people forget that the economy is based on story narratives. If the narrative is that of bad, it becomes self-fulfilling. If the narrative changes that, we are seeing improvement, we are seeing decline in inflation, rate of increase in inflation, we are seeing improvement in foreign exchange, we are seeing growth, GDP growth, we have seen maybe agro contribution is increasing, food inflation is going down. Those things rebuild, positive outlook, and then, trigger economic behavior that reinforces the improvement. So that's why we talk about narrative economics, the story, and central bank is trying to enter that narrative. So things are looking well.
And the narrative is not inclusive of the renewed infrastructural development. We're not saying that so that it really can drive, key sectors of the economy.
Absolutely, and we're also seeing it at the level of household experience, so consumer experience. So, for example, this inflation now, if we begin to see it in prices of
just in 13 states,
13 states, but I mean, even those 13 states, if the consumers there, the households experience significant reduction in cost of basic essentials, the impact begin to be felt. So it might take some time, but we want to see not just in terms of figures. Oftentimes, the figures may not amount to much. It's just like, for example, in the US, we are saying that job growth is going on every month, but inflation, the perception of inflation, the actual experience of it is still high. So I think that this is good, but then we shouldn't be optimistic. We shouldn't be overtly, euphoric.
It's not uhuru yet.
Yet, no, we're still far from. We should focus on things not getting worse, because the prospect of things getting worse. We've seen spikes in macroeconomic indicators in this country, because sometime now it might go up or go down depending on this fact. So when the central bank keeps an eye on the data, the economic managers should keep an eye on the real drivers, infrastructure, logistics, issues around conflicts in the farming area, so that food inflation will go down a little bit. And then, of course, it will take some medium to long term to improve the productive base of the economy. This is really what is the problem, that we're not a productive economy.
We don't even see, we've not, I think the last time probably in Nigeria saw, short-term, medium-term, and long-term development plans was probably during the Goan era and the rest.
Well,
it sounds strange these days, you know. Yeah. How do our planners, our economic planners, you know, get along without such...
Yeah, I think in the 1980s, after the collapse of the economy and the social program, national economic development planning became no longer fashionable. And so the World Bank and the monetary institutions, they kind of demarketed plan economy, the fixing prices, helping getting
free market economy.
Yes, getting prices right by way of liberalization, privatization became the norm. But now, interestingly, the IMF have come back to say we need back to industrial policy. We need to get back to, but smart ones, not the ones that lead to import substitution with no export potential.
Yeah.
So I think that right now, you're right, we're not seeing that kind of planned economy. And the idea is manage microeconomic fundamentals. The central bank, get inflation rate stable, get exchange rate nice, pull away from subsidies, then the private sector will
thrive.
But then it didn't work. And China, the Koreans, South Korea,
they developed all that at a time when Nigeria's economy was even, doing better than theirs.
In the last 3 decades. So they're telling us now that you have to go back to smart planning. And so you're right about, and that came with too much focus on finance. You know, the Ministry of Finance became dominant. In the past, and in these countries, economic development, the Ministry of Economy was the head of economics, but now we've moved to finance. We have financialized. It's a critique of the neoliberal economic system. Because of course, financialization, and not looking at the economic approach that looks at how to drive up productivity, push your total factor productivity higher, increase diversification,
particularly with small-scale commodities,
exactly, so that you'll be able to have more revenue and improve household income.
Sure. Thanks so very much, Dr. Sam Amadi, Director, Abuja School of Social and Political Thoughts, and a RISE analyst.